Alright, hey guys, it's typical Real Fender 16, and we're back at it again with another Ruined Leon video reaction. This time, the video is family cries about seeing their son get 25 years in jail. I wonder why. So, apparently, the family of a Texas teen loses it as a judge has sentenced him to 25 years in prison for robbing a convenience store. Wow, I can't imagine getting triggered because your family member was given 25 years in prison for robbing a convenience store. You do know that robbery is illegal, right? You know, I thought we knew this already, but apparently some people just didn't get the memo. Judge Raquel West was seen torching 18-year-old Caden James Fontenette before handing out the sentence. There was a time some years ago that there really wasn't even a question. State's attorneys were recommending youthful offenders probation. Let's give everybody an opportunity. Alright, yeah. While we're at it, let's give rapists an opportunity too, because apparently rapists deserve a second chance after just having destroyed an innocent human being's life. And that's if the rapist didn't murder the innocent human being first, or after doing what they did. What they're infamous for. You don't have a good likelihood of being successful if I were to put you on probation. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 25 years. Wow. A judge giving an actual sentence. Wow. A judge giving justice. Wow. Wow. You know, wow. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Victims actually seeing justice. That's something you don't see every day. Fontenette pleaded guilty to aggravated robbery for a 2025 incident where he and two others robbed a convenience store at gunpoint. The suspects were caught on camera assaulting the store clerk. Fontenette will likely be in his 40s when he is released from prison. Wow. Alright, so let's actually start the video.
Family.
Also, if you're wondering what that sound is coming from, it's, I have Train Sim Classic in the background, which I was going to play, but I decided to do a quick, reaction before doing it. So, hey, because I just got me some Train Sim Classic DLC from the recent sale. That's still going on until, what, April? I think, was it the spring sale, something like that? Whatever the case is, let's, react to this video.
Family of Texas teen loses it as judge sentences him to 25 years in prison for robbing a convenience store. Judge Raquel West was seen torching 18-year-old Caden James Fontenette before handing out the sentence.
Mr. Fontenette, there was a time some years ago that there really wasn't even a question. State's attorneys were right.
He looks like a character out of a Tyler Perry movie. He really, I just noticed that.
Recommending youthful offenders, probation. Let's give everybody an opportunity.
I wonder why that went away, or not even went away. I wonder why that we're speaking about this as if it was something of the past. Maybe it's because there are too many examples of people being let out or being on short sentences and them going right back to doing the thing that ended up with them in the courtroom.
Oh yeah, way too many examples of that. Way too many. Too many to list, too many to count.
Told you at the top of this newscast, victims who were viciously attacked by a Northeast Ohio man are demanding justice tonight.
They say he showed no remorse, yet the judge released him. 19 investigator Mike Mason broke this story and now has the latest.
This man, Cyrus Walters, was in court here earlier this week, pleading guilty to brutally assaulting 3 men, all within the same month. However, the judge let him walk, and now his victims are outraged, and they want justice.
I'm ready to get in this cop car and face my time.
Listen, this is body cam footage of officers arresting Cyrus Walters last year for assault. Earlier this week,
one thing I can't understand about people is that, like, when they get caught committing a crime, like, and the consequences of their actions start hitting them square in the face, I can't understand the victim card, dude. Like, you don't get to play the victim card after you just committed a crime against innocent people. Like, come on, man. You gotta grow up and just take accountability for the shit you did. You put yourself in that situation. Why are you crying about it now?
Walters was released from jail after he admitted to brutally assaulting 3 men.
I was fairly certain he was trying to kill me.
Walters viciously attacked David Dudley last year in downtown Cleveland. Dudley's a criminal defense attorney who was here on business. He represents clients from across the country.
I have been in front of over 1,000 judges.
But the one who's baffled him the most is Judge Cassandra Collier-Williams.
Why am I not surprised? Isn't she the one that's, like, infamous for, like, releasing violent criminals and never providing any justice to the victims? Why am I asking that question? Yes, she is.
Earlier,
and she's not the only one that does that either.
This week, Cyrus Walters pleaded guilty to assaulting 3 men, including Dudley.
He ran towards me and kicked me in the ribs and my shoulder, and then multiple times in the back of the head.
Dudley suffered severe contusions and a broken shoulder.
This guy is unpredictably violent.
During Walters' bench trial this past Monday, Collier-Williams reduced his felony charge to a misdemeanor, allowing Walters to walk.
Wait a minute. So let me get this straight. This judge, knowing what this criminal just did to an innocent men, just, released him basically with a misdemeanor. You do realize that attacking an innocent human being physically is a violent crime? Why is this guy getting a misdemeanor for a violent crime? And then being ordered to be released so he can attack these innocent men again? Okay, buddy. Yeah, alright. Yeah, this is DI for you, people. This is DI for you. Like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely outrageous. Good God. What has this world come to? That's all I can really say at this point.
The streets of Cleveland once again.
Judge Williams didn't even put him on any kind of supervision. The prosecutor was shocked at that.
Shocked, he says, because when Walters addressed the court, he failed to take responsibility for his actions.
He neither apologized to me.
You can pretty much... We already knew that, though. Just from seeing the body cam footage, you could pretty much see that.
Nor any of the other victims he acknowledged attacking. He showed no remorse, not one shred of remorse.
I feel the judge let us down.
We'll call this man Tony. Surveillance video captured Walters beating on him in Tower City.
Broke my glasses, and also I had a few knots on the back of my head. I had a ring around my eye.
Tony says he's devastated by the judge's ruling.
She's just getting time served.
And here's the worst part about this. If these men tried to defend themselves, they would have been arrested. Let that sink in. These men, if they tried to defend themselves, they would have been arrested. Wow. Crazy, right?
I think it's ridiculous because I feel he's a menace to society.
After assaulting Tony, Walters was arrested and released the next day to attack once again. This time, he injured a man near Whiskey Island so severely, he required stitches.
I ain't do no crime, bro. We've been walking this whole time.
Once again, Walters was arrested and released. That's when Dudley turned to 19 Investigates for help.
There was no detective on this case until right before the story ran, when they found out it was going to run.
We obtained video from the city's surveillance cameras showing Walters stumbling down the street after Dudley's attack.
By placing that on your news report, we were able to find him.
Tony identified Walters from our report, and police arrested him once again. He was again released, then rearrested. This time, Walters spent 2 months in jail until earlier this week when Judge Collier-Williams let him go with time served.
The judge gave him the absolute minimum sentence that was available.
He's going to be out there doing the same thing again.
And
look, I'm going to be the guy to say this because I really don't care. I call shit how I see it. Something tells me that judge was straight up racist. I can just see it. I can just see the racism. I can just see the racism from the judge.
Maybe there are a few people in the courtrooms, the judges, the lawyers, the attorneys who are sick of it, and they're trying to fix this in a way that creates a strong example as to why you probably shouldn't be in here doing this in the first place.
And things have just changed in such an incredibly dangerous way with young people doing what I just saw you do on that screen. I cannot imagine the fear that that person had that was working in that store, that he now has, just trying to go to work, make a living, and go home. And he has 3 people come in and not just grab a little quick something and run out, but terrorize him for quite some time. Pulling him around, yanking him around, putting guns in his face, all 3 of you.
Without a care in the world, mind you.
Yep, without a care in the world. Even then, he still didn't care. He thought he was going to get off easy again.
And with that, be in thinking, hey, we on top of the world. We just robbed the store. We just roughed up the store clerk. Yeah. And now we're in handcuffs. Now we sitting here with the fate of our freedom in the hands of a woman who has the ability to make your life easier or worse.
I also, in addition to the PSI, get jail incident reports. And you apparently like to fight and jump people, which is what's been happening in the jail.
It's already off to a bad start. Because if you're trying to garner, and I don't like his body language.
I don't either. Like he acting like he gonna get out. He acting like he gonna get away with this shit. He acting like he looked like he feel disrespected by just being confronted with the shit he did. Wow, acting like he could be anywhere else. Well, newsflash, dude. You know, when you commit a crime, if you don't want to do the time, don't commit a crime. It's simple.
The body language comes off to me, as a non-body language expert, as I don't care. It comes off as you just talking, get it over with, skip to the end, and it's you can't really have that type of body language while you're listening to a judge.
You really can't, because that could basically, because the judge, you know, there's nothing stopping the judge from increasing the amount of years you spend in prison, you know.
That decides whether if you get probation.
And honestly, I think the judge should have.
Or 25 years. And spoiler, because we already read it, he got 25.
So it makes it very difficult for me to go, oh, this is somebody that's going to get out and behave, who can follow the rules, because you can't even follow the rules in jail. And the pre-sentence report shows that you're a high risk level, which tells me that after they've looked at everything, that you don't have, unfortunately, a good likelihood of being successful if I were to put you on probation.
Nope.
And Mr. Coleman's right. We're tired of
close.
it. And there's got to be something done. So in cause number 25, DCCR 1759, I'm going to find that you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily. I'm going to find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time I'm going to find you guilty of aggravated robbery. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 25 years in the institution.
Yay!
Finally, it's about time victims get justice. Let this be a lesson. If you want to go out here committing crimes, terrorizing innocent people, you're gonna be made an example of. Like, seriously, man, if you don't want to do the time, don't commit the friggin' crime. It's that simple.
I don't know why necessarily anybody in the background would have any outburst necessary.
I don't either, but we know why. It's because these people, these so-called families, support this crap. And it's sad that, that they have to watch one of their own get put away behind bars. But this is what happens when, you commit a crime. You can't just look at your family member being thrown away, thrown in the clinker, and be like, oh no, this is unfair, this is cruel and unusual punishment. No, it's not. This is what happens when you commit a crime. This is how things should be. You commit a violent crime, you get a sentence, you get a sentence, you know, and you learn your lesson. You know, it's called the consequences of your actions, and people just see people. It's like people just seem to hate that part of life. When you do something, there are consequences. Like, seriously, you got to get it through your thick skull at some point.
Because apparently that's his family in the background, very upset. And my thing is, maybe there's the opportunity for you to have a different reaction if you didn't raise a brother or a son or a nephew that thought it'd be a great idea to rob somebody.
Exactly. Like, you know, this is your family member. This is your family member. Like, seriously. You know, you would think that instead of supporting this absurd behavior of his and, you know, shedding tears and stuff and crying and making a scene because, you know, he got a 25-year sentence for, surprise, surprise, committing a violent crime, that you would actually, you know, support the judge, letting him know that, and, you know, giving him the consequences of his actions. Instead, you just, like, pretend like he's some sort of victim in all this, when he's not.
Because
what he did was a choice. You know, he had the choice to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to terrorize innocent people. I'm going to be a good person. But he decided to terrorize innocent people. So he saw the consequences of his actions. Finally. You know, really. Come on, man. Don't enable this kind of behavior, because this is what happens. You know, this is why this kind of crap happens all the time, and you know, criminals end up getting away with a lot of things. Because these people in the background, people like them in the background, so-called families like them in the background, enable this shit. And then they wonder why people shit on them so much. And point to them as the cause of all this.
Because that's necessarily how you end up here.
Yep.
You do something and then you end up getting caught because there's security cameras everywhere. And now you have to face the wrath of a judge who calmly is telling you, hey, you're a risk. You're fighting in jail. You're somebody who probably will do something again if we let you out. Yeah, you're going for 25. And that's the ultimate consequence. So when people are running around Billy Badassing it, or they're saying that things are unfair, reminder that we live in a world where there are people who are treated unjustly.
Exactly. Life is unfair. You know, we're not given handouts simply because life is unfair, man. You know, and on top of it, you can't just sit there, watch someone get the consequences of their actions and then say, oh, everything is unfair. No, that's not how it works. When you do something good or bad, you get consequences. They're either good consequences or bad consequences. When you do something bad, you usually get bad consequences. You know, seriously, don't go doing bad things to innocent people, and you usually won't have to worry about ending up in the slammer. Now, there are innocent people that do end up behind bars because, well, our government is full of tyrants. And some police officers are also tyrants, so there's that. You know, however, that doesn't change the fact that there are still people committing crimes that somehow manage to get away with shit until a proper judge gives them the proper consequences they deserve.
Also live in a world where there are people who get off very leniently and then they go right back to doing the thing that ended up with them in handcuffs.
Exactly.
So to be on the safer side, it'd be the smartest decision to, I don't know, maybe keep them locked up. That way, hopefully at some point they recognize they probably shouldn't. And then when they get out, they have a whole new lease on life. Or they still end up back in the jail cell doing something else. I really do think the most annoying part of that video is the family reacting as if some great atrocity has occurred, because
it really is. Like, families that do this shit really annoy me. Like, don't sit there and shed tears and have that, you know, in like friggin', you know, cry boo-hoo and unfair and all that, making a scene because your family member is finally facing the consequences of his or her actions. That's not how that shit works, man. Like, seriously, if you get mad at shit like that, you are part of the problem. You are very much part of the problem. This guy, this is your work. Whatever the family name you have, this is your work. This is your work. This is your mess. And the least you could do is try to fix it. I mean, at least he's not getting a life sentence, because the judge very much could have given him a life sentence. You know, and honestly, I think he should get more than 25 years. I think he should get at least 30 years in jail for that. Give him an extra 5 years to get himself together, if he hasn't already gotten himself together in those 25 years. Or by the 25th year. You know, you can't enable this kind of behavior, because this is exactly why we have so much crime going on in the country. And I'm sick of it. That family, his family needs to get themselves together and stop enabling this bad behavior. Because what he's doing is not okay.
Is the family reacting as if some great atrocity has occurred because your family member took it upon himself to join his friends in robbing a store, which is a crime, which when caught leads to a consequence, and that consequence can vary. So you sitting in that courtroom may be expecting a little bit of leniency, maybe expecting somebody to stick their neck out for him. You had one of the people that was up there with him begging the judge to do something about this, in making sure that this dude goes to jail and faces a consequence. Because what does it say about how piss poor this justice system already is if you give another example as to why it's piss by letting somebody who do something wrong walk scot-free? Yes, there are various amounts of people who are walking scot-free that belong in jail. One example that I'm going to keep bringing up until I'm blue is a guy violating 2 teenagers, and instead of getting 75 years, got community service. I think we can all agree belongs in jail.
Oh no, he doesn't just belong in jail. He needs to be castrated and sterilized and still thrown in prison for prison justice, you know, because this is absurd. No human being should be getting any kind of light sentence or no sentence at all for violating innocent human beings. I don't think so. The way I see it, if you violate an innocent human being, whether you're a man or a woman, child or adult, elderly, doesn't matter. You should be castrated and sterilized, and then thrown in prison and serve prison justice. Because you did it to yourself. Okay? No one did it to you, you did it to yourself.
But the justice system is piss. And if you give yet another example of that, all it does is create this conversation of a lack of trust in expecting that true justice could really be had, and just giving people the leeway to say, hey, if they can game the system or if they meet the right type of judge, they'll be able to walk scot-free.
Exactly. And that's how you create vigilantes. You know, when there's an inefficiency in the justice system, when there's incompetence, you know, and when the justice system, let me just say it like this. When the justice system, for some reason, can't do their job, which is to provide justice to the victims, then there are going to be people out there who are going to believe that, you know, who are going to try to provide justice to the victims themselves. And that's what creates vigilantes. If you don't want vigilantes running around the streets, or you don't want a Batman, or a Robin, or a Punisher running around the streets, then as the justice system, you need to actually hand out justice for the victims. Okay? It's that easy. It's that simple. Either hand out justice for the victims, or people will do it for you. You don't want vigilantes? Well, make it to where vigilante justice is, like, you know, unneeded. Which you do by providing victims by providing victims justice. If you keep letting violent criminals, evil people, you know, walk away with no consequences, then you're going to cause the population of the country to not trust you, and to not trust the justice system, and they'll feel like then they'll start taking the law into their own hands. I mean, seriously, we've learned this through this shit is a historical thing. Like, this shit has happened throughout human history. Don't bring justice, and the people will decide to take it upon themselves to bring justice. Like, come on, man. You know, but that's what they want, so they can just lock up more people and say, oh, but we had to do this because people took the law into their own hands. Well, people wouldn't have to take the law into their own hands if the justice system did their damn job.
And that's stupid. And when I see this family reacting, all I'm thinking is, you failed. You failed at getting your family.
Oh, no, they absolutely failed. You know, they failed. Big time. And they're probably going to get mad and call people mean for criticizing their reaction. But you know what? Maybe if you were an actual family and did not throw such a fit that your family member saw the consequences of his actions finally hit him square in the face, you know, we wouldn't be here.
Member to understand that there are consequences for the things that you do. You failed in being a leader of your family to the point where you're going to sit there and cry foul when your family member gets his just dessert. And that's what he deserves, because when you sit there and you make excuses and you don't really hammer home the point of consequences for actions, you may end up being in the courtroom with your family member facing a judgment, and the judgment might not go in their favor, and it's at that point you got to hang your head in shame. But when you sit there and you put on this performance of how dare you and all this extra shit, you just invite the conversation that you, along with your fuck-mouthed jail son that's going to jail for 25 years, are all worthless shits. You just haven't been caught doing a crime yet. So
exactly. Like, you're basically just pretty much proving that you're no better than your family member who's about to be locked up. Like, that's crazy, man. How can you support something like that? And people, and those are the same people who will call the judge racist too. Watch. People are going to call the judge racist. The minority of the country are going to call the judge racist because the judge actually did her job, which is to hand out consequences, to throw the book at violent criminals. Seriously, man. This is, you know, it shouldn't take rocket science to throw the book at violent criminals. We shouldn't be giving violent criminals a pass because of all this extra shit, you know, that no one should be caring about. And you guys know what I mean.
So congratulations, you've played yourself to the highest degrees. But let me know, do you think this proves that the justice system could get things right? Or are you just like me in recognizing that even if you do get something right, there's a long track record that proves the justice...
I think it's really, you know, the latter. Even if the justice system does manage to get things right, they've got a long way to go before they can be trustworthy, before they can be considered trustworthy again. You know, they got a long darn way to go. Because, you know, there's too much of a long track record of the justice system being very inconsistent and inefficient. You know, no progress on crime, the fight against crime being made, especially violent crime. There's too much of a track record. So they got a long way to go. The justice system can get things right, but they got a long goddamn way to go before they're trustworthy again.
Justice system is the flip of a coin, and at any given moment, somebody could get the right punishment.
Dealing with the justice system is like dealing with Two-Face. You never know what your fate's going to be. At the flip of a coin, your fate could be sealed just like that.
And somebody who deserves the right punishment could walk fucking free. And I will see you all in the next one. Mwah!
Yes, the GOAT. Alright, that was Ruined Leon. Family cries about seeing their son get 25 years in jail. The absolute GOAT of the internet. One of the many, realistically. You know, it's human beings like him that give me hope when it comes to the human race. You know, so shout out to him. Subscribe, like his videos, subscribe to him if you haven't already. Leave a comment on this video. You know, hey, Typical Rail Fan are out.